Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Trauma Uncensored.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Trauma Uncensored. I'm your host, Brooke. Today's guest is very near and dear to my heart. I'd love to introduce everyone to my cousin, Katie Swisher. Katie's story most definitely proves that life has a beautiful way of offering us miracles when we believe all hope is lost. If this is your first time listening, welcome. We are so glad you're here. A little bit about me and why this podcast came to be. In September of 2016, our 9-year-old son, Logan, was tragically killed in a distracted driving automobile crash. The decade that surrounds this event is rooted in major trauma, both before and after the crash, as well as extreme pain and darkness that would lead me to be suicidal not once, but 3 times. Along that journey, I have been fighting for my mental health. I've been fighting for my life. And I am very grateful to announce that I have been gifted a journey that has led me here, speaking to you today, in much better health, a great mindset, living day to day, carpe diem, enjoying everything that life has to offer, and still being able to walk alongside the hardships along the way. If you are a first-time listener, I do encourage you to go back to episode 1 titled The Crash. That's where my story begins on this podcast, and you will hear the duration of the crash itself. You'll hear me talk about the criminal case that would come later and many years later, actually, and create additional trauma for myself and my family. But you'll also start to hear about the healing journey, and you'll start to hear about other modalities that have fallen into my lap very gratefully that have, like I said, led me to where I am today, talking to you fine people and getting to share all of these wonderful stories that have come with the guests. If you would like to be a guest, I should mention that now. At the bottom of the show links, you will see a link to a Google Doc that you can put in your request, or you can email us at hello@traumauncensored.com. And we will make sure to respond to you as quickly as possible. But it's been awesome having all of these people reach out and ask to be on the show to share their stories and provide hope and healing for others. So my goals for this podcast, again, in case you are new, I want to offer a space to show that it's safe to have trauma and grief and pain, while also never being afraid to talk about all of these things. I believe personally that we live in a society that wants us to hide all of these, will shame us for any of the problems or experiences that we are going through. And I am here to give that space back to all of you and tell you that it is okay to share. It is okay to find healing. And I think today's episode is going to be a wonderful resource, adding to the other resources that have already been provided. I do have a couple of disclaimers. So we do talk about grief. We talk about loss. We talk about trauma, mental health challenges, and survival. And I am not a therapist. So that being said, I believe that I am experienced in trauma via life circumstances, but I am not actually licensed. So keep that in mind as you are listening, but also understand that I have done a lot of work to get where I am. And I have been very fortunate to learn a lot of vernacular and tools and modalities along the way. So follow us. Leave us a review. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. If you could follow us, definitely give us a high star rating, if you don't mind. If you like the show, but I have a feeling you're going to want to stay. But also be sure to follow us on all of those social medias. And if you like what you hear, we would love for you to leave a review. Also, links to anything that we may talk about today, anything that Katie would like to share with all of you, can be found in the show notes below. So please do take a chance and or take the opportunity to go down and check those out. They are also in our newsletter. They come out, our newsletters come out every week. We will not sell you spam or anything. It's just information about the show and what may be upcoming, kind of like a retreat that I am planning that I actually had a call about this morning. Super excited. But those details are forthcoming. So keep that in mind. But you can also email us at hello@traumauncensored.com if you want more details right now. So, all of that being said, again, I'd like to introduce Katie. Katie Swisher is married to Matt and is mom to Hannah and Henry. She spends her days working as a graphic designer and spends the rest of her time juggling the chaos of raising young humans in a pastor's family. Katie loves music, books, rainbows, photography, cooking, Diet Pepsi, and margaritas. Amen to the margaritas. We should just have a side discussion about margaritas, by the way. Um, mm, those are some of my favorite things. Even though I quit drinking at home, I like to go out and have a margarona with Modelo in it. By the way, Modelo's the beer of choice. That's a little free tidbit for you all that I will not charge for all of that advice. Also, she is an Enneagram 7, which I was so happy to hear because I'm also an I'm sorry, I said Enneagram 7. But she likes to sprinkle cheer, color, creativity, and cuss words into every corner of her world. I do feel like Katie and I are kindred spirits because I was a graphic designer and I reached out to her for some feedback and for some suggestions. So it's nice to have a fellow designer in my corner because who can really talk about typography and color and all of those things, right? I mean, obviously, that's right. We're the only ones that. Do you want to know what it's like for me to sit and do the graphics for this podcast and try to stay out of my perfectionism and OCD? I'm a work in progress, Katie. I'm a work in progress. I know. And she likes margaritas. So, who doesn't like a margarita? So that that being said, I want to share something before we get into talking to Katie. Katie, as you're going to learn through her story, has had a rough go of bringing her two beautiful children into this world. And I told her this morning, I don't know if she recognized it, but there was a post that she created um, regarding her 10 and a half year old, and it has to be 10 and a half per Hannah. Hannah wants everybody to know she is 10 and a half, not just 10. But she posted about Hannah last night on her Facebook feed, and it is there. I want to paraphrase. I'm going to take some snippets and read to you because it moved me to tears. And it moved me to gratitude, and it moved me to recognizing this is exactly why this podcast is important. Katie, very fortunately, is also very vocal about her story, and we need more of those people. So before we get into her detailing out her story, I want to read a little bit about or read a little bit from what she posted last night. And this is just, like I said, bits and pieces pulled out of it. It's not the entire post, but I will put a link in the show notes to that actual full post. So be sure to check that out. So here it goes. At 25 weeks and 4 days gestation, she, speaking of Hannah, was tiny, 1 pound, 10.8 ounces, only 12 inches long. I was able to hold her for just 1 minute before they took her to the NICU. I remember wondering if that was the only time in her life I would be able to hold her in my arms while she lived. She spent 117 days in the NICU, almost 4 months of tubes and wires and pumping and bradycardias and low oxygen saturation and alarms sounding and late nights and early mornings driving to the hospital. Months of countless vision tests and chest x-rays and swallow studies and heel sticks and charting every ounce of growth. Approximately 234 shift changes where we heard nurses update each other on every single aspect of this little baby's life, and then finally bringing her home and introducing her to the outside world and learning how to parent without a skilled nursing staff. Just reading that, I have goosebumps all over my body. I mean, Katie is a beautiful writer as well. And there's so much. I mean, I know her story personally, and I've known her story for a very, very long time. And even still reading that brings so much to my heart and again gives me goosebumps. So please, Katie, without further ado, please introduce yourself and your story. I can't wait for everybody to hear.
Oh, yay. I'm so happy to be here and happy to be a part of this podcast. I've been following since the start, so I'm cheering you on
And
all the
I'm
way up here in
grateful for that.
Indiana.
Yeah. Cold
So
ass
it's
Indiana
it's
right now, right?
cold and it's dreary today, and I just want to move south. Why do I live here?
Ugh,
Um,
I don't know. We
so I
we
was
moved
thinking
south. I'm
about
just saying.
this, that like, how do I even start this? And it occurred to me that when I was young, people would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I have no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up. I want to, a dancer. Or what? I'm not a good dancer. I don't know why that was an idea, but like a doctor, But I always wanted to be a mom.
Mm.
I just there was no question. I was going to grow up and I was going to marry my Prince Charming and I was going to have babies, and that's that's all she wrote. Um, and so when I married Matt, we were pretty young, early 20s. 3 years into our marriage, we said, let's start trying to have kids. Let's do it. Everybody else is doing it now. It feels like we were kind of settled. Let's do it. And it would not happen. And my little sister got pregnant, and all of my best friends are everybody's getting pregnant, but not us. And so we start talking to a doctor. Let's try these tests. Let's try these medicines. And so it went for about 4 years with nothing, absolutely nothing. Um, and then in July of 2009, I was driving to work and just felt weird. I just didn't feel right. I need to see the doctor. I need to go. And it turned out I was pregnant. And it was the most exciting thing ever. Um, Getting to share that with mom and dad. And it was just, after so long, it was such a huge, exciting thing. About 6 weeks later, we lost that baby. And it was so traumatic to me. Um, it felt like a failing on my part. It felt like we're Christians in this house. And so I kept thinking, Jesus saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? Like, it's so dramatic, when I look back at it. But um, it was a horrible thing that happened to us. And at that time, we didn't know people who had had a miscarriage. Like, it was never discussed in our family. Um, my mom, God bless Gloria's soul,
Aunt Glow.
she got
Hi, Aunt
pregnant.
Glow.
Hi, mom. She's listening. um, she got pregnant when she wanted to, had easy pregnancies, delivered those babies in quick and easy labors with no medication. Like, it was just a dream. And she was a smoking hot babe the whole time doing it. It just isn't fair. So why I expected the same would be true for me. And it wasn't. And um, soon after that first miscarriage, we got pregnant again and lost another. That miscarriage happened when we were in New Orleans on a trip.
Mm.
And we continued the trip because damn it, I was going to have a good time in New
Good for
Orleans.
you. Yeah, good for
Um,
you.
and
As you
time
should
and
have.
again, I know it was wild, but we did it. And time and again, 4 times in a row, we would get
Mhm.
pregnant and just lose another one. And it got to the point, I was talking to Matt about this morning. He said it really was, the hard part was that it stole the joy from what should be an exciting time in a couple's life. We got to the point where we would get pregnant and we'd just be like, okay, well,
Here we are again.
when's this one going to go to?
Mhm.
And even to the point, we were doing so many tests. I don't know if anyone out there has ever had a hysterosalpingogram. I do
Ew.
not recommend. It is the worst thing. It feels like they're filling your fallopian tubes with fire. And it's just the stuff that I have had done to me.
Well, what's the purpose of I mean, explain because I don't know
they
what that is exactly.
They put you, I think it's like an x-ray situation. They put you on this table and they pump you full of a contrast kind of dye
Mhm.
that goes through your uterus and through your tubes to make sure that everything is open and
Mm.
flowing. And every test I had was normal. Everything was normal. And For the people who are watching can see this, but if you're just listening, you can't. I'm a woman of a large size. I inhabit a large body and have for a very long time. And immediately I thought, this is because I'm fat? No, doctors said there's nothing you are doing that it's none of this is your fault. It's just a fluke. And so we were just at the mercy of luck. So we had 4 miscarriages, one right after the other. And we got to the point like something has to give. We have to look at another option. So we looked into adoption, and we got on with a private adoption agency, went through all their classes. I don't know if anyone out there knows how, I had no idea until we did it, how involved and expensive it is to do an adoption through an agency. But I think all told, we ended up paying $12,000, sorry, towards this adoption. We got our home study approved. We're on the list. We had actually been shown to a couple of mothers, and it was, exciting. And then all of a sudden, I'm feeling sick again. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. But I took a pregnancy test, and then I took another, and then I collapsed into tears. I was like, I cannot do this again. I cannot lose another baby. But we marched forward and went through Christmas. We told our parents and our siblings, and that was it. I just, I couldn't bear the thought of telling a bunch of people. And even around New Year's, I had an episode where I started bleeding a lot, and I'm like, here it is. And the doctor said, come on in, I want to see. And we go in, and we see that little baby's heart just flickering there on the screen. She's just dancing away. I'm like, holy cow. All right, well, she's holding on. We just took it one day at a time. And there was a lot of prayer and hope and just like crossing our fingers. But we had to take our names off the adoption list because they won't let you adopt
while
if
you're
you're pregnant.
Oh, yeah. And you'd spend all that money and all that time.
Yeah. They call it artificial twinning. And I get it. I understand the thought behind it. But man, we were so close. And to have to say, well, just pause for now, because I'm sure this one's going to, bite the dust, and then we'll be right back.
Did they allow you to pause?
Yes.
I mean, all the resources you put in, everything, they allowed you to pause.
Yeah, they just paused. And we can pause for, I think, up to 2 years, maybe 3 years before we had to redo a bunch of stuff. So let's time out for a minute and we'll see how this goes. Because we had lost so many babies, we were on a high-risk pregnancy track. Also, I was advanced maternal age, geriatric pregnancy.
Wait, at what age?
I was 34.
I got, I mean, see, that beats me. I was at 38 when I was pregnant with Mila and got the same thing.
And then
you're geriatric is
pregnancy.
What I got.
Calm down. Yeah.
I know, right?
So I had to go to the doctor every other week and ultrasounds and all this stuff. We were at about 24 weeks. Actually, I was remembering this a couple of weeks before this. We had gone and gotten our gender. We had seen the gender, and we saw you that day. You were in Indianapolis that day for something, and you came over to my grandma Alice's house where mom and dad were. And I walked in, I was like, it's a girl. And we Zoomed, or it was probably Skyped at that point, with Jordan. And I remember telling Logan that it was a girl. Do you remember that?
I actually, wait, so this would have been 2014?
2015. Yeah.
It was 2015. Oh, right. That's right.
Yeah.
It was 2015.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Isn't that funny? I had totally forgotten that until I was thinking
trying to
about
remember
it
why I was in Indiana. Oh, I know why I was there for a conference.
Oh, okay.
Wait, was Logan? Oh no, Jordan was home with Logan. I was there for a conference. That's right.
Yeah,
Gosh,
you were there that day.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like, it's a girl. Yeah. Harrison lost his mind. I hate girls. Like, it just was too much fun. But just a couple of weeks after that, I go to the maternal fetal medicine doctor just for a regular, they were checking a fetal echo something or other gram. And they're doing this scan, they're doing this ultrasound. And have you been having contractions? No, I haven't felt a thing. I've been feeling great. Okay, I'm going to get the doctor in here. And I'm like, oblivious. And he goes, oh, okay. Well, you're dilated 2 centimeters and you're 100% effaced.
Oh,
and so He points to Matt. He goes, "You're going to go home and get whatever she needs for the rest of the pregnancy. And you," he points at me, "are going down the hall to the hospital." And they put me in a wheelchair and they wheeled me into labor and delivery. And there I was to stay. This was in April and she wasn't due until August. And so I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? My dog, my cat, I was like, we got to set up the baby monitor so I can watch the cat and dog from home. It was so silly. Um, and we just prepared for months in the hospital. I couldn't really get up much. They would let me like walk over to the little couch under the window and have like sleep in the sunspot like a dog would. And I could take a shower every other day, and that was about it.
Mm.
A couple of weeks into that, my water broke, and they tried real hard to stop that girl from coming, but she was determined, and she remains determined today, actually. So on May 4th, 2015, I had my Star Wars baby.
Your Star Wars baby.
My Star Wars baby.
Oh, you know what? I almost used it's not Star Wars, but it's Harry Potter Christmas cup that I got when we were in Universal last fall break in London. And I was going to use that as my coffee cup for today in honor of you guys. And it's dirty. So know that I'm thinking about you.
She would love that. She's such a little Potterhead now. And when we got your Christmas card, I showed her pictures from your trip and she was like so jealous.
I know. So, I recommend that. I recommend it. Put that on your bucket list. I've been twice now and you don't.
Looks so cool.
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing.
So Hannah was born 1 pound, 10.8 ounces, which it just is like I've said that number so many times through the years. It's so inconceivable still to think about how small she was. Like I have large hands, thank you to the cremain side of me. And her little butt could sit here and the back of her head was here. She just a little hand baby. And she was about as long as a Barbie doll. So if you look at a Barbie doll, she was just a tiny bit longer than that. She was born in her sac. They call it in-call, which is apparently a sign of greatness. So
watch out, world.
Oh my gosh, I know. The NICU team got her cleaned up and they were like, she's actually doing okay. Do you want to hold her for a minute? And they let me hold her. And they have the manual, the ventilator bag. And they're kind of pumping and I'm holding her and she's just looking in my eyes. And she didn't make a sound. And I just remember thinking, this might be the only time that this baby is alive in my arms. And so I just wanted to soak it in. My mom and sister were there. I was so glad they were taking pictures. I didn't have to worry about that. But then they whisked her away and they took her upstairs to the NICU. And there she stayed for 4 months. She was only on the ventilator. Being born that young, when I got hospitalized, the neonatologist came and consulted with me. She sat down with me and I got to know her through the months going ahead, but I'd never met her before. She was so kind and so gentle, but so serious. This is not good. And this could happen. This could happen. She will likely have developmental delays. She will likely have vision issues. She will likely not be able to breathe well. She will not, just over and over. And that's if she even survived. So we went into the time in the NICU very much with like a loose grasp. You know what I mean? Like we're going to hold on to this as long as we can, knowing that she could pass away at any moment. But even from the first day, those babies born that early, they put them on the ventilator right away. She was fighting that ventilator after just a few hours. And they were like, I think this girl wants to breathe.
On her own. Good for her.
And they took her off that ventilator and she never went back on. Not a single time. She had nasal cannulas. She had oxygen. She had vapotherm. Gosh, I can't even remember. There were CPAP at some point. But she never had the ventilator again. And so there we were for almost 4 months, every day. We lived in Greenwood, which is on the south side of Indianapolis, for your people who aren't familiar. And we had her at Community North, which is all the way on the northeast side. And I'm so glad I did. It's such a good hospital, and I loved our team. But oh my gosh, it was a lot of driving.
That drive is not fun. That drive is not enjoyable.
Oh, and that chunk of 465 up there in that corner is just
Mhm.
the worst.
Mhm.
So we did that every single day. Um, and we decorated our little room and they hooked me up to breast pump because I was a dairy cow for, I mean, that was my job, is to sit there and make milk for that tiny little baby. And man, I did. And I worked because I didn't want to take all my maternity leave during NICU.
Right.
So
That
I
makes sense.
worked virtually already. I breast pump on, computer going, working. It was
Listen,
crazy.
you were ready to be a mom, whether you know it or not, because you were already multitasking. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
says something when you've got, pumps attached to your boobs, both of them, and
Yes.
you're sitting there on your computer working. That's
Yeah.
highly commendable.
I
I
was like
applaud you.
taking phone calls from people at work and it was so
What's
I
that
can't,
noise in the background?
no, don't worry about it.
Nothing. What's vibrating in the background?
Don't worry about it.
Nothing.
Just the hospital machine. But we got to know so many of these nurses. They are just angels to me. They coached us every step of the way. This is what's happening. We had one nurse, Allie, who we still keep in touch with, um, who multiple times wiped off her board and drew pictures to help
Mm,
us
mm.
understand this is what a CPAP is doing. This is what her little stomach is doing. And like, they didn't have to do that. And they did that. Um, and so it was kind of a crash course in taking care of an infant with those nurses. So that was 4 months of our life was living in that NICU. And every time the alarms went off, oh my God, I was in the hospital, not for anything crazy, but I was in the ER a couple weeks ago and there was an alarm going off like across the way and it was the same. And I could feel my whole body just like, oh my gosh, 10 years later.
I mean, well, and
Um,
that's the thing. The body, I mean, it doesn't forget. It doesn't. And
wow.
I mean, you
Mm,
can do all the work around those experiences that you want, and that will never change your body's response.
yeah.
However, you can gain the tools to be aware of what's going on. So when it does happen, you can better regulate yourself, or, breathe or do, the horse shimmy is what I like to call it, where you stand up and you shake like a horse shakes off water,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
top down, get that energy out. And you can even,
Yeah.
blow your lips together like a horse would be, you know,
I love that. I'm going
vocalizing.
to try that next time.
Oh, I do. There are times where I have gotten up in the middle of the night with my anxiety and I stand there next to the bed and, be damned who's laying next to me, right? He's
Yeah.
sound asleep anyway
Yeah.
with his m- witch music playing in his ears. It is. It's like some meditative thing. It's supposed to be, but it
That's what I
sounds like
do too.
it sounds like a witch, and I'm like, turn that shit off. Um, but I mean, I'll stand up and I'll do, that's a good way to just in an instant get the energy out. So again,
Yeah.
to reiterate for people who are, not familiar, not necessarily aware, your body sensations, I mean, you're going to have that for the rest of your life. Your brain and your body are always going to remember. And in a situation like that, because that's like war trauma.
Yeah.
You hearing those alarms, that is literally like war trauma.
Yeah.
But if you're aware of it, if you're aware of what's going on, that's how I'm able to honestly walk forward with my shit whenever something's triggered. I am now aware, so I'm not like, what the hell is going on with me? Why can't I stop shaking, etc. I can say,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I know why, and let's breathe, let's get this energy out, let's go for a walk, or I'll
I recognize this and
sit
I'm going to
down
dump
and
it off here.
yep,
And yeah,
yep,
that's so
yep.
important for
Mm-hmm.
sure. So yeah,
Sorry,
that
I
was
interrupted.
for, no, don't stop. Yeah, for 4 months we were in the NICU and we brought her home and that girl didn't have a single brain bleed the whole time. She didn't have any breathing issues. She didn't have, there's a thing they call it neck. It's like necrotizing something or crap. I looked it up the other day and I still can't remember, but it has to do with their intestines. And a lot of preemies have that and they have to have surgery and have parts of their colon removed. I mean, it's just nasty. She never had any of that. She never had any, even she all these preemies have to get evaluated by first steps because usually they qualify for services to help with their development. She didn't. she didn't qualify for anything because she was doing so well. She's such a miracle baby. Um, and that I get to be the mother to miracles is just beyond me. But she like I also, to add to the story, when we were in the hospital, Matt and I always wanted more than just one kid. And we had said something to the nurses like, are siblings allowed in the NICU? And they were like, well, they have to be a certain age. They have to be 18 months old, I think is what the thing was. And so I remember having this conversation with Matt, like, okay, if we ever decide to try for another, we have to wait until Hannah's 1 because we'll just assume that the next one will come early.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I don't want to be in the NICU and then her not to be able to come. So I was like, okay, we have to wait until she's 1. Well, guess who was conceived on Hannah's first birthday?
Mm-hmm.
It was little Henry.
Mm-hmm.
And
Who, by the way, I share a birthday with.
you do, January
Mm-hmm.
1. He's my
January
New Year's
1st.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Both my kids have cool birthdays and I love it.
I know,
So,
right?
yeah. Yeah, it's very fun. So after all of that with Hannah, I was super high risk and I had to go to the doctor all the time. They stitched up my cervix with a cerclage. I had to get these horrible shots in my butt every week. Matt got to do those. Oh, it was just awful. And every time I'm like, please, like, I hope this kid knows how much I'm going through. He ended up coming on New Year's Day via emergency C-section, and which is no fun, by the way. If any
No, it's
people have
not.
had C-sections,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I was not prepared. I was
3
not
of them.
prepared.
I've had 3.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
no, it was too
Uh-huh.
much. It was too much.
It's
But
a
he
lot.
wouldn't breathe. He wouldn't breathe right out the gate. It took him 6 minutes to breathe.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting there looking at this limp baby, and I'm like, I swear to God, I have not gone through all of this for you to just die right here. And finally, he got going. We joke now that the way that those two came into the world is a lot like how they are now, because Henry does not ever want to leave home. He wants to stay home where it's warm and comfortable and quiet, and like he can do his own thing. And if he has to leave, you got to drag him kicking and screaming. And Hannah, on the other hand, is doing whatever the hell she wants, whether you think she should do it or not. And she's going to be feisty about it the whole time too.
So you're telling me that she's got a lot of Crimean blood in her as well.
Ouch.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does Mila. Mila's the same way.
God bless her. I mean, the Crimeans, we are a fun bunch, but we're a hard to handle group.
You got so I mentioned at the beginning that Katie is my cousin, which I do consider her my cousin, but it's she is Jordan's actual cousin. So
yeah.
It's technically for me by marriage, but I also believe that blood takes nothing into account. Family is family.
Cousins.
But that being said, it's amazing to me how, I mean, even Kelly, your sister, Kelly and I have had discussions about the Crimean boys and their stuff and how
they got some stuff, don't they?
They are. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And about how, but you guys have, I mean, I know the family story, and there's so much trauma there. There's so much trauma, and you all grew up together with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you and everybody obviously was in their own homes, but all 3 of, the Crimean children, your dad and Jordan's mom, and then there's Barry. I mean, they all experienced it, and unfortunately, generational trauma is a real thing. It is
so real.
So the fact that they all, the cousins, in your family, the male cousins, I would like to say, have, they battle with what they battle with, and it's very similar. It does not surprise me.
Yeah.
And then throw the ADHD
found a picture
on top
today
of it.
with, I know.
I saw that. I know,
recently
the ADHD.
diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm like, well, this explains 1,000 things. But this picture I saw today was from, I think it was Thanksgiving, and it was all the Crimean cousins. And we were so rarely all together because one branch lived in Kentucky. But, and then great grandma Jordan was laying in our laps. And I just thought, man, those are the days. We had no idea what generational trauma was then. We didn't.
Well, most people don't know, ever know. Yeah, most people don't ever know what generational trauma is. So there was no way for you to know. But yeah, I saw that too, and
she was the best.
But you guys all, I mean, you always seem to have photos of the family. It's you that shares them. It's you that
Yeah.
keeps, you know.
I'm the picture person in the family, I
Mhm.
think. I'm the
Mhm.
annoying one who's always it was Grandma Marilyn. She took pictures every time we were together. You got to take a picture for Grandma. And now that's me. So
That's all right.
these
We're
are
getting,
precious
I
memories.
mean, we aren't getting any younger, so it won't be long before we're that grandma. I
I
mean, it better
know.
not be anytime soon for any of us. I know Cam is, she's what, 19. She's a year older
Hmm.
than Logan. So
Hmm. Can you
uh,
believe that?
no,
19?
no, I cannot. No. Cause I remember when Kelly was pregnant. I
Hmm.
remember when Cameron was born, and
Hmm.
it feels like yesterday, but
It
it
wasn't
was
that long ago.
almost 2
It wasn't that
decades
long
ago.
ago.
I
I
know.
know. And that when Logan was born after Mom's party, I was like, this is a great weekend. It
I
just feels
should
like a minute ago.
So off air, I share with people what happened while I was at the party because I went to Kelly and I was like, "Oh my god!" And she goes, "Yeah, yeah, this is what just happened." But I never put two and two together. And then by the time I got home, I'm like leaned over my mom's counter because we were living with her at the time, and I'm just like in pain. And I remember calling Jordan and going, yeah, the doctor told me to come in. You need to come home now. So Brandon Kelly's husband drove Jordan home. And then we get to and like it sobered him up immediately, right? I'm not
Sure.
encouraging people to drink and drive. And, 20 years ago, he was like, holy shit. And so he's driving me and like hitting every single pothole and bump he could while I'm having contractions. And then we're sitting in the hospital and I'm in the bed, obviously, having contractions. And he's sitting there next to me, breathing through the contractions. I was like, you need to get the fuck away from me because you're breathing alcohol into my face.
Oh,
Oh, it was
don't brush your
terrible.
teeth.
And no, I was like, oh my God, stop. But that, yeah, definitely a night to remember at
We know how to have a good time.
Glow's graduation party.
That's right.
So
Right.
I do have a question. So Henry was born early, but how many weeks was he born
He
at?
was born at 30, let me think, 35 weeks. I think it was
Okay,
like
so it
34 and
was
5.
gotcha.
He was by the time we passed 30 weeks, I was like, all right, he can come anytime. Like
Got it. Yep.
this is fine. And at this point, people will say, "Oh, I had a preemie," or "Oh, how early?" "Oh, we were 37 weeks." I'm like, "Oh God." In my mind, I'm like, "Get out of here."
Right.
Which is so terrible. It's so terrible because nobody's trauma is worse than anybody else's. But oh my gosh, yeah. At
Mm-hmm.
30 weeks, I was like, "Okay, buddy, you can come. You can come." And those last few weeks were I'd never been pregnant like that before. I had never felt miserably pregnant before. I mean, I did take the time to recognize like this is a blessing. You wanted this, but also holy crap, I was super pregnant and taking care of a 1-year-old. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It doesn't change what's going on in the
yeah,
present.
no,
You're allowed to have space for both of those
yeah.
feelings. So
I
he
mean,
came and he didn't have any sort of like real complications or anything,
not
right?
really. He
No.
was in the NICU for just a couple of days. I had more complications than he did because I got cellulitis and ended up having a collapsed lung, and it just was. And then postpartum depression, which is a whole other beast,
Mm-hmm.
and then at 11 days old, Henry got RSV, which is a
Oh.
respiratory thing, which to like grown-ups, healthy people, it's just a cold. But to babies and to people who are like really old or fragile, it can really do some damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to go back to the hospital and he was hospitalized for 8 days when he was a baby. And I remember thinking, well, I guess this, like, we brought him home and got one picture of all four of us together that I remember. And then it was like postpartum depression and just like horribleness for a couple of days. And then we were back in the hospital. I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But I had an appointment while he's in the hospital. I had an appointment with my doctor to get my staples taken out. And I never knew until this moment, but at my OB's office, they had a behavioral health person on staff. And so my doctor's taking out my staples and she's asking all the follow up questions that doctors ask us after you've had a baby. And I don't know what answers I gave that like were a red flag to her, but I remember her kind of stopping mid staple removal. She goes, I got somebody I think I wanted you to talk to today. I was like, okay. And I'm so glad she did because she's the one who was able to clock this is postpartum depression. Let's
Mm.
have some one-on-one. Let's adjust your meds. And I swear, when we brought that boy back home after the RSV thing, it was a do-over. It was a homecoming do-over, and it was beautiful, and everything was fine since. So,
That's wonderful to hear.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
because a lot of people, I don't know that a lot of people have that easy of a transition. But you were already, and I know, I mean, this is a topic for definitely another episode, but you were medicated prior to,
I
right?
was. I had had a history of, I mean, through all of the miscarriages, and
Mhm.
then also in the midst of the miscarriages, this could be a whole other offshoot. I went to the chiropractor for issues with some lower back trouble. And through an adjustment, they snapped my neck and caused an arterial dissection in my right
Mm.
vertebral artery, which caused a stroke. So that was 6 months of healing. It was a whole thing. So I've developed a pretty severe medical anxiety
Oh, I'm
through all of
sure.
that.
Mhm.
And so it turned into panic attacks, me saying, I'm dying. You need to take me to the ER. He'd drive me to the ER. Nothing's wrong. Go home. You're crazy, kind of thing. And I finally had had enough of it and talked to my doctor about it. And he prescribed Prozac. And I didn't know it, but when he prescribed it, I was already pregnant with Hannah. And we found out I was pregnant. He said, I want you to stay on it. And I
Mhm.
have ever since. I've been on
Mhm.
Prozac for 11 years. So
I think there's a
it's,
misconception. I do think that there's a misconception of, I mean, the doctors are always going to be able to tell us what's the safest bet, but being on medication while pregnant, I mean, that can ultimately save both of your lives.
yeah, yep,
I actually went off of mine when I was pregnant with Mallory because I was so scared of hurting her. And halfway through, my anxiety got so bad that they put me right back on. And,
yeah,
um, but I also do believe, I mean, something like that is not a necessarily a, I mean, I guess it could be considered a big T trauma. I mean, because that essentially opened up, you know, this fear, right, of this health anxiety. I have been part of that as well, but like you said, I mean, whenever I was medicated for the OCD, that has, like, at this point, I'm like, something hurts. What the fuck? I'll deal with it later. Where
yeah,
before I was
yeah.
like, I'm Dr. Googling and I'm going down
Oh
the rabbit
gosh,
hole and all of that
yeah,
stuff. And I mean, that's very dangerous. That's
it's
actually
so
the health
bad.
anxiety is what caused me to become suicidal. Three
Mm,
times, thrice, but it was all born out of trauma, right? So it
yeah,
wasn't just that; it was after the traumatic events that triggered my OCD. So it's a very real thing, and I'm very glad that you were able to stay on that, because I know, and then having the postpartum that you were put in a place where it was like, okay, let's bump this up, and that helped, where people, who aren't medicated, and then you have to go through that whole rigmarole of finding the right medication and
yeah.
trying
And I
this
was
and
fortunate. The
trying
first
this
one we
and
tried was the one, and I haven't. I know people have had to try all kinds of things to find the right one, and so far, what they gave me
mhm.
the first time has been what helps. So
Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Prozac, but I could be,
yeah,
because
send
right,
us
I
a
could
DM,
be,
Prozac.
because that is what has helped save my life as well. And
Yeah,
I, I've heard other people say that I mean, that people tolerate it fairly well. Like, it's an old school, right? It's been around. Remember the little
long time.
commercials with the little, white ball jumping around? And I think, was that
Yep.
for Prozac or Zoloft? I don't remember.
I don't know, but yeah,
But
it's been a
I
long
I
time.
hear a lot of people, that's where they start still. Anyway, for those people who might need a little bit of reassurance if they're considering medication, it's okay. It is
It's
okay.
okay.
It is
It's more than
okay.
okay.
It is,
Take the help.
for sure.
Yep. Yep.
So I know that there were a couple specific topics that you wanted to address, um, in the show today. So the first question I'm going to ask, which I believe is probably the most important to you, is what are some things that you should not say to someone experiencing infertility or having a miscarriage?
Um, this one is one you've talked about, so I know that you have a hatred for it as well. The whole
Mhm.
God needed another angel.
Mm.
That is such, listen to me, people. I'm just a human on this earth with you. But I'm married to a man who is a theologian, and he says that theology is bullshit. Okay? God
This
does
is
not need our
I
babies
love
for
you
angels.
guys. I love you
Okay?
guys. I
He
love both of
doesn't,
you
that's not how
so
God works.
much.
And so, yeah, quit it with the God needed another angel.
Mhm.
God doesn't need any more angels. Um, so I am a pastor's wife, and so, which means we, lead churches and we have church members, and there's sometimes some wild people who are in churches, and we hear some weird stuff, and God bless them. They mean so well. We had a woman tell us, this is after Hannah was born. She said, I think all those babies that you lost must have been boys.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. What makes you say that? And the thing is, our first pregnancy, I just had an intuitive thing that it was a boy. I always referred to him as a boy. And she goes, I think obviously you can carry a girl just fine. Your body's allergic to boys.
Oh, that's
And I'm
nice.
like, oh my God. And then I get pregnant with Henry, and I'm like, I swear to God, if this woman's right, I'm going to scream. So don't don't do that. The thing that bugged me the most is when people would just say, "Oh, you're just you're thinking about it too much. Stop stressing." Or, you just have to do this and you'll get pregnant. Do this position or don't eat this certain thing and you won't have miss. Thank you.
Or what's
But
meant
I
to
didn't
be is
ask you
supposed
for
to
that.
happen,
Oh
right?
my
I
gosh, what's
mean,
meant to
and
be?
that actually dovetails into a question that I had personally for you.
Hmm.
Um, being a pastor's wife, right? Living in a Christian household. I'm curious your thoughts on now that you're this far out from everything, looking back. How do you feel in terms of the idea that in like divine timing, or that you like the miscarriages you had were simply not supposed to be, and Hannah and Henry were what was supposed to be in this lifetime, and maybe there are lessons behind this experience that are available to you, in order to be more compassionate about this, or to find that extra gratitude in having these kids. Like, I tell people, before the crash I had no perspective, right? I had
Yeah.
no perspective. I took everything for granted. Everything, my children, all the work I was doing, the time I wasn't spending with them, because I thought they'd always, they'd always be there. And, in this experience, I have Mila and Mallory, and, we were grateful, or I'm very grateful to have gotten to keep Mallory. And I look at it as, would be the parent for them that I am now? And so, like Mallory and I yesterday, we watched 3 movies. Like, she's old enough that we can start watching adult Christmas movies. I may have actually allowed her to watch Old School last night at 14.
You
Don't
did. I
don't
love
judge
it.
me.
No
Don't
judge,
judge me. But the
no
time,
judgment.
like, just hearing her laugh with that joy, and knowing that she's old, and I mean, listen, what I told her was, you're getting worse stuff at school than what you're going to
A
experience in this
hundred
movie.
percent. Yeah.
So if I can talk to her about things, which she did, she asked me a couple questions. It got a little interesting.
Good.
But I'd rather be the one to teach her what this means,
Yeah.
or about this, than kids at school or other parents that I know have the wrong intentions. And
Yeah.
but all that being said, it was an amazing evening, just me and her sitting there. We got chopped for dinner, and we just sat there together, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe would I have allowed that time, had Logan not passed? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. That's a phrase in OCD land. And I believe that I am able to stop and smell the roses with my children, and spend the time, prioritize the time now that I never allowed for before.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on, right, the divine timing, on, things I know people hate this phrase, but everything happens for a reason. And, just in your experiences, how do you view all of that?
That's such a good question. And I don't know that I'm going to have a satisfactory answer for it.
An answer,
Because,
you don't have to worry about that. I mean,
okay.
the truth is, the truth is what's important. And
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has anything to say that's not satisfactory.
Yeah. In my mind, where I am in this point in my life, I don't believe that everything happens for a reason. I don't believe that God's up there with his Xbox controller making us move certain ways and do certain things to make sure a certain thing happens. But what I do believe is that God has the power and the ability to make things, make good things out of shit. You know what I mean?
Yep,
I
I do.
almost said, excuse my French, but we're uncensored here.
I
So,
know. And you listen,
you
you
know,
haven't dropped the F bomb at all
I'm
this
so proud of
episode,
myself.
and I'm shocked because Katie and I can go on. Like we could
Yeah.
just speak in fucks, you know?
Yes,
That's,
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
so
I'm
I'm
such
proud
a
of
good
you.
pastor's wife.
You
Oh, God.
are.
I honestly don't believe that God took those babies from me. But I also believe that I am supposed to be Hannah and Henry's mom. And, part of me has when we may have even talked about this after Logan died. We were talking about some woo woo stuff. And could those babies have been Hannah and Henry trying
Mhm.
to come through at another point? I don't know. I remember I had this dream a couple of times when I was pregnant, the first and second time, that it was like a toddler age child with blonde curly hair. And I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl, but it was blonde curly. I'm like, blonde, okay, fine. Most of the Carmeens are blonde. But the curly hair, what is that? Both of my kids
Mhm.
have blonde curly or had blonde
Mhm.
curly hair. Henry's is straightened out by now. But where did that come from? Was that part of that their soul like coming through in my dreams? I don't know.
I
I
think that's
honestly don't know.
beautiful. Oh, I have so
It
much to
just
say about that, but this is
yeah.
your story.
When their curls started coming through, I was like, oh my God, look at this. It was just wild. I just I do see how things have come together to bring me to where we are now. But do I think that God orchestrated every bit of it? I don't. And I think that there are a lot of other Christians out there who would call me a heretic for saying that. So but that's just what I believe.
And you're
Sometimes
allowed to
shit
believe whatever
happens
you want to
when
believe.
there's
Yep.
no rhyme or reason behind it, and God grieves with us when that happens too. If anyone out there is saying that God orchestrated that crash that day, that was God's will, are you no. God was sitting next to the side of the road with you guys, sobbing with
Mhm.
you. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's no way that was designed. I just don't believe it. So maybe I'll, leave this part of existence and move on to the next and find out I was completely wrong about a bunch of things. I mean, I don't believe in hell anymore. I'm not quite
Good for
sure,
you.
about a lot of things. Like I might be totally wrong, but in this moment I feel a certain way and I'm okay with that.
And you have
Yeah.
every right to feel that way. I mean, my viewpoint is different, but it's because I've been on my own journey right through all of
Yeah.
this. And but I believe everybody is entitled to their experiences and their
What
beliefs that come out of. I mean, that's what makes us so unique in so many different ways. And the open dialogue and being able to talk about these differences is so important
yes.
because so many people shame others for having one belief where theirs is different. And I'm like, no,
Right.
you know what? The only time we're going to know if we're right is when we're dead,
Yeah.
and that's it. And
And we're
so,
just assuming that we'll find out if we're right or wrong.
yeah.
We might get on the other side. Logan might be listening to this right now, being like, guys, you have no idea. You're going to be so
I
disappointed. We're
know.
never going to find out.
I don't know. I swear to you, last night he was turning off the Christmas tree because we were talking, Mallory and I were talking about him. And I swear to you, he kept
Kid.
turning off the Christmas tree. And I was like, what the? Because that doesn't ever happen. It's
Yeah.
plugged in, it's got a remote to it. It's, always on, always on. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't know. I believe that Logan's having a blast where he's at. I really do. And I'm very fortunate because I feel so he has a very interesting way of connecting with me through hearts. I will see hearts in the weirdest of places. I mean, down to a little speck of something that was in a Colorado Hilton toilet years ago. I know I've got some stories. I've got some stories about hearts. But I welcome them, and it gives me the opportunity to to smile and feel joy and gratitude. And I always say, thank you, kid, or, good morning, kid, or, I mean, because I call my children kid versus their name. Um, and I personally believe we're the fuckers living in hell. They're partying on the other side.
I
That's my
know.
belief. That is
I
my
know.
belief. Yep.
Yep. Yep. I
So,
agree.
all right. So,
So the things not to say, there were two other things I wanted to point out because they were especially heinous. I got, again, from a well-meaning person, um, a communication that I should take care of my health and not worry about getting pregnant, that I should lose weight first.
yep. I know
Don't do
that one.
that. Don't
Mhm.
offer people medical advice that they didn't ask for. I guess would be a good blanket statement. And then the biggest one I think that still sticks to me and has still maybe affected this relationship to this day is someone had passed, they had finished having their children and they said, "We know you're trying to have a family. Would you like all of our old baby furniture?" Well, heck yeah. I don't know if anybody knows this. Pastors will make a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money to buy all new for. So we took their hand-me-downs and they were really nice, like really good brand. And we put them in the garage and saved them. And a couple of years later, that person called and said, it hasn't happened yet. It's probably never going to happen. Can I
Oh,
come take my stuff
shit.
back? And
Uh,
they drove all the way out to where we were living, which was like 90 miles away, and took all the stuff back so they could sell it. And I just don't do shit like that.
right.
Like, just stop. If someone is experiencing this and they want to share with you, listen. Don't don't give them feedback unless they ask for it. I don't need
Mhm.
to know what position your grandma did to have her triplets or I if I ask, fine. But just be a listening ear to people. And I would also say the thing you should do is to share. I mean, I'm kind of an open, no, I'm not kind of an open book. I'm like, I have no cover. I'm such an open book.
Uh-huh.
I just
Uh-huh.
will tell you everything. Do you want
Uh-huh.
to talk about, my uterus some more? Yeah,
That's
let's do
because
it.
you're an Enneagram 7.
Oh my God, look out. Here we go.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but if you feel comfortable talking about any of this stuff, I want to encourage you to do that because the thing that really affected Matt and I when all of the miscarriages started is that we felt so alone. We didn't know anyone who had experienced it. Only after it happened to us did I find out that my grandma had a miscarriage between, I'm pretty sure, my dad and Becky.
Oh, yeah.
Um, or maybe, but anyway, she had a miscarriage. Everybody knew. I didn't know. My cousin had had a couple, you know, everybody's had, oh, yeah. And they didn't say it to make it seem like, oh, everybody, it happens to everybody. Don't worry about it. They were commiserating and that's great. But what I didn't realize until it started happening to me that like 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage. That's a lot, you guys.
Mhm.
And it got to the point where I would get pregnant. And when you're in your like 20s, everybody's getting pregnant, right? Your mom, like not your mom, hopefully not your mom. I don't know, but like, yeah, everybody's getting pregnant. And so I would get pregnant and then boom, boom, boom. There would be other people around me pregnant. I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, who's it going to be? And it was me every damn time. And
Mm.
not that I would ever wish for it to be someone else, but like, one of those times it was Harrison. My sister was pregnant with Harrison, and I would never, ever, of course, wish that but like I have a good friend Jamie who our due dates were around the same week for that first pregnancy, and she still, when her son has a birthday, her son Benjamin, she'll text me and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, thinking about you."
Oh,
remembering this, that baby would be this old. And like, just that's so thoughtful. That's so thoughtful that they do that. And that, I tie these memories to these other children that I know and love. But it happens so often. But I think people just don't talk about it. What? Because it's
they
a,
don't
a
because it's
female
painful.
problem?
No, it's
Because it
painful.
sucks? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's we don't. I mean, our society doesn't talk about things that are
Yeah.
hurtful and painful, and there
Yeah.
is no space for any of that. And I can sympathize with you, but I cannot empathize. And
Yeah.
I mean, I have been very fortunate that all three of my children came easily, and I haven't had a miscarriage that I know of. And I can't even imagine. I mean, I've lost a
Yeah.
child, and I can't even imagine the journey that you've been through, and the heartbreak,
Yeah.
and the disappointment and the fear, and that feels very palpable to me just listening to
Yeah.
you. I mean,
Yeah.
I can feel it. My emotions internally are there's heartbreak there. There's
Yeah. A
so
lot.
much heartbreak.
Yeah.
Even though the outcome worked in favor, right? You've got
Yeah.
your two kids, the wonderful two kids that you have.
And
It doesn't erase what
well,
it took to get them here.
and Hannah even asked me recently, she said, Mom, because it's not like we give them gory details about everything that
Mhm.
happened, but we let them know, like, oh, mommy was pregnant before you and those babies died. And um, Hannah asked just a couple weeks ago, Mom, if those babies hadn't died, would we still be here?
Oh,
I don't think they would be because honestly, these two, I'm overwhelmed. We are outnumbered because at this point we're so freaking old. Like, what are we? There
uh-huh.
are people that we work with in PTA who are like their parents are our age. Like we're just the old parents at school. So I can't imagine having four, six kids. Oh my gosh, I
I
would
know.
cry. So
I know.
no, they probably wouldn't be here. And so of course I'm so like I wouldn't change a lot, because I'm so happy with where we are now. But man, the hell it took to get here.
Mhm. I
It was
know,
a
and
lot.
that's unfortunately, that's the hard part of these situations is the hell that takes to get to where we wanna go,
Yeah.
and being brave enough though to I mean, I'm sitting with the excuse me, didn't we talk about allergies before? Listen, I'm the only one
We
coughing now.
did. I've been sitting
Mhm.
here with my tissues.
Uh-huh. Oh, I tell you what. But, it broke my heart earlier whenever you mentioned I was pregnant again, and I was like, "No, not this again." But you troopered through it, and then look what happened, right?
Yeah,
And that one, look what happened because you had to put everything on hold, the adoption, all of that jazz. You went into it going, "Fuck me. I don't have the energy. I don't have it in me to do this." And then she came
there she
and,
was.
and she was just very spitefully telling you to go fuck yourself and that she was
She
coming with her.
was.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
"You
and you
don't
want to
want me?
know
Here I
something?
come."
The, the the time period where I got pregnant, for some reason my brother Robert is 6 years younger than me, so we don't typically hang out. Like we don't hang out with their friends, but I didn't have kids. They were having parties all the time, so we would go to their house, and do you know how much Fireball I drank that fall?
That's
And so
disgusting.
I know,
Why?
I
That's
know.
a high school thing. What were you
I
doing?
understand. I was making up for lost time, Brooke. I guess. But here I go. I got pregnant on Fireball. So we call her our Fireball baby
Uh,
because it
she's
took
living up
Fireball
to
to
it.
get her conceived,
Mhm,
and she has been a Fireball since then.
mhm,
So,
mhm. That makes
I,
sense.
I
That
know
makes
and there are people out there. I said something to Matt today to like, there are people that we know who experienced miscarriage and then were never brave enough to try again.
Mhm,
And they always wondered, could it have happened? But they were too scared to try again. And I'm so glad that um, either I was too stupid or too bullheaded to to give into that fear because I just
it's because you're
something
an
inside of
Enneagram
me
7.
knew. Yeah, I was
Mhm,
like, you can't tell me what to do.
mm-mm,
We're gonna
mhm,
get a baby.
mhm,
We're gonna
mhm.
get a baby no matter what we gotta do.
But you're saying that something inside you, right? told you to
Yeah.
stick with it, right?
Yeah.
And the power in listening to those voices, that intuition, if
Yeah.
more people understood that those little whispers are
Hmm.
there for you to hear and to follow.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the
Well, and
things
not
that could
just
be
from
done.
within, but there were a couple of people in our life who one of our friends who was a groomsman in our wedding reached out to us and he said, "Hey, we've been praying tonight and this is weird, but we just really feel like we need to say this to you. But we feel, and this feels very woo woo, but it's Christianese woo woo, so I'm sure people feel better about it. God wants us to tell you not if, when."
Mhm.
And that was it. And that was like the message that I thought, okay, well, that's weird. And so I had another friend reach out and say, I had this dream that we were pregnant together. Isn't that crazy? And yeah, it was crazy. Um, all those years later, she comes to visit me in the hospital when I'm on bed rest with Hannah, and she was pregnant at that time
Oh.
with her Cora. And so we had rainbow babies just right next to each other. And, she has a whole other reproductive trauma history too. I had a friend that I worked with at, when Matt was in graduate school, just send me an email out of the blue. Hey, I had a dream that I saw you in a hospital bed holding a baby with your hair in a ponytail. Isn't that crazy?
Mhm.
Yeah,
No,
I
it's
get it.
see, I don't believe in coincidences. I think
When my faith or my will to keep trying would kind of wane, I would lean back on those. I would,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not just hearing this intuition myself. Other
Mhm.
people have had this intuition for me as
Mhm.
well.
Yep,
And I would
that's
lean
so
on that too.
powerful. Oh, that is so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, that right there, I mean, this whole episode has been an amazing gift, but that right there to communicate that, I'm hoping people will hear. I'm
Yeah.
hoping people will hear that because so often we feel like we're alone. So
Yeah.
often we do the why me? Why am I going through this? And we can get just sucked into that and drawn into the darkness. Meanwhile, those little whispers are everywhere, be it
They
from
are.
within or from other people.
They
And
are.
I don't believe that's a coincidence. We
I
just
don't
have to
either.
have our
They
heart
are.
and our minds and everything else open
They are.
enough to receive it.
Yeah. And to also give it to other
Yes.
people.
Oh my God. Yes.
Like,
Thank you for
so
bringing
as
that
I
up.
get older, I I feel maybe it's like a practice makes perfect kind of situation. But like people come into your mind and you're like, oh, that's so weird. I had this really interesting thought, or I heard this song, blah, blah, blah. And you just let it go. I remember this happening with Logan actually more
Oh.
than once. I remember driving in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, which there's lots of nowhere, Indiana. And like I was just listening to the radio and the radio station cut out and like went real staticky for a second and came back in with Pharrell's Happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy crap. And I just pulled over into some like real sketchy looking gas station. And I sent you a text. I was like, I don't know what's going on, but
I
you just need to
remember.
know this. Like,
That I do remember.
like,
Not a
and I don't know what was
coincidence.
going on with y'all in that moment, but it could have been that you needed some encouragement and you needed
Hmm.
to hear from Logan in that moment. So be open to receiving that from other people, but also
Hmm.
be open to giving that to others as well.
Yes. No,
If
I love
someone's
that.
really heavy on your mind or in your soul, reach out.
Because you
If
never know
if
what
it's
you might
nothing, then you still
find,
get to
right?
say hi to a friend. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, I mean,
Mm.
and that to end this, that is the power of community
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there. That is the
100%.
power of community. And that power in the community
Yeah. Yeah.
creates the hope and the healing that people need.
Yeah.
It's been so awesome to
Yeah.
have you here. You did
Yeah.
a fantastic
Oh,
job. I know you were super
phew.
nervous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
See, I
Crazy.
told you you'll get into this and you'll
Yeah.
forget
It'll be fine.
we're even
Yeah.
recording.
Well,
It's
now
just a
you've reminded me.
conversation.
So here we go.
Yeah, there you are.
And it's
You
good to
made it.
talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah.
made it through
Yeah.
beautifully. Before we
Thank
wrap
you.
up, anything quick to add
Yeah.
or
Let
to
me just say
say?
really quick because we talked about what not to do, what to do. The one thing I want to encourage people to do is be careful about how you talk to your children about having kids. Something that we've been intentional to do with our kids is to not um, default to when you grow up and have kids, when you
Mm,
grow up and get pregnant, or when you know what I mean. first of all, maybe they don't want to have kids. Second of all, I don't know, don't put that expectation on the people in your life. Even your littles, let them decide what they want to do. Not that I think that would have changed how anything happened or turned out for me, but I think going into our situation with the assumption that everybody does this is just how it always works. I think it could have gone a little bit better. So that was the last thing I wanted to tell your audience, just to think about.
That's great because that
Yeah,
just created awareness for me. 'Cause I hadn't
yeah,
thought about that, you know? I'm
yeah,
very careful about talking about certain things, but
yeah,
in my experience, that is not my experience, right? Your
yeah,
experience is not my experience, so I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing that,
yeah, of
absolutely. All
course.
right. Well,
I'm
Katie,
thankful
thank
for your
you.
community you're building here. This is great.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mm,
I'm very humbled by where this has gone so far, and not
I'm
even
great.
the 6 months, almost 6 months that since we
I know.
launched, but I know,
Yeah,
isn't that crazy?
yeah.
So, all right. Well, everyone, this has been another episode of Trauma Uncensored. Again, check out the links in the show notes below. I'll get with Katie and see if there's anything additional she would like to add to those as well. I will get you the link for that post that she left about Hannah. The whole thing is beautiful. So I do encourage you to read it in its entirety. And again, if you have any questions, want to be a guest, know of anybody who wants to be a guest, or just want to say hi, hello at trauma. I messed that up, didn't I? Franco, cut that. Just kidding. He's not going to cut it. He'll never even hear it. But anyway, email us at hello@traumauncensored.com. So until next time, see ya.